Hey, problem solvers. Welcome to math. I've got a problem here for you. Can you help me out? There are 2,300 nails in one box. How many nails are in 5 boxes? How do we solve this? We need 2,300 times, or in other words, 2,300 times 5. Now, do you remember what we talked about in math earlier this week? Because we've talked about breaking down big numbers so that they're easier to think about. So how can we do that here? I see a few ways we can do it. We could do the same, pretty much the same thing we did earlier, where we break down, get red, we break down 2,300 into easier to digest numbers like 2,000 and 300. And then we multiply both of those by 5. All right, so we know that 2 times 5 is 10. So 2,000 times 5 is going to be 10,000. And then 300 times 5. Well, we know that 3 times 5 is 15. And we add those 2 zeros. And then we add them together. If that looks a little confusing, you can stack them on top of each other. Like so. So let's see, 0 plus 0, 0 plus 0, 0 plus 5, 0 plus 1, and 1. We've got our answer. 11,500 nails. Now let's look at another way to do this. I know, Miles. Exciting. What if I didn't want to break down this number? I wanted to think of another way to do it. Well, 2,300 can also be said as 2,300, or in other words, 23 hundreds times 5. Let's just look at the equation 23 times 5, which is 115. But it's not just 115. 23 hundreds times 5 is 115 hundreds. And how do we write that? Hundreds. And we put our comma in there and we get the same exact answer. So that's another strategy that you could use to solve big multiplication problems using mental math. Let's look at a few more together. All right, what if we say, what is 32 times 4? Let's break it down. 30 times 4, well, 4 times 3 is 12, and there's a 0 on there. You see what I'm doing? Then 2 times 4 is 8. So what's our answer? We add this together. Beautiful. Let's look at another one. What if I give you 320 times 4? Well, we already figured out 32 times 4. So we can look at this as 32 tens times 4. And since we know that 32 times 4 is 128, that's an 8, it doesn't look like one. 128 is 128 tens because it has that extra 0 on there. Does that make sense? So in other words, 128 tens is 1,280. What if we keep going with this pattern and I ask you to solve 3,200 times 4? Well, it's the same thing as 3,200 times 4. We know that 32 times 4 equals 128 hundreds. And how do we write that? We add 2 zeros. So we get 12,800. Should we even look at one more? What if I ask you to solve 32,000 times 4? If you don't know the strategy, you're going to be like, Katie, what in the world? That is a huge number. I cannot solve that multiplication problem. But we can if we break it down into 32,000s times 4. We know that 32 times 4 is 128 thousands. Or in other words, 1, 2, 3 zeros. Do you see the pattern here? We kept adding, let me show you, we kept adding zeros to what we're multiplying, which means that zeros kept being added to our answer. Do you see the pattern? I think it's pretty interesting. So I've got one that I would like you guys to solve independently and bring your answer to Zoom. 2,800 times 3. And that is your question for today. Make sure to come to Zoom with an answer and be prepared to explain how you found that answer. All right. Thank you so much, problem solvers. If you have any questions about this, excuse me, keep them in your mind and I would be happy to answer. You're all doing so well on this unit so far. I'm very proud of you. All right, I'll see you on Zoom soon. Bye.